r/NoSleep. My friend has a camera that will show you your last photograph before you die. Part 4. Maribel collapsed into a chair, sobbing. I called 911, the details spilling out of me in incoherent fragments of sentences. He got into an accident. Brady Esposito, on the highway, near the toll, near Belleville. Then I sat next to Maribel, wrapping my arms around her, starting to cry too. The tinny voice on the other end of the line asked, "Sir, are you still there? Stay with me on the line, please." But I couldn't pick it up. Couldn't do anything but hold Maribel and cry. This can't be real. It's just a stupid photo. Maybe he didn't die. Maybe he's okay. But I knew. Deep down, I knew he was dead. That was the deal from the start. The camera was going to kill us, one way or another. It had never been said, but it was obvious, wasn't it? The camera didn't just tell us our fates. It made them. And Casey had willingly brought it to us. Taken pictures of all of us. Did she know this would happen? I ran up the stairs. Brady's gone. I screamed, banging my fist on the door. So you better tell us where you got this camera. A light pattering of footsteps sounded behind me as Maribel joined me. She grabbed me by the shoulders and nudged me away from the door. "Hey. The photos haven't changed," she whispered, shoving them in my face. "Casey might still come out of there and murder us all." "You think she would really?" "I don't know. But the photos didn't change." I backed away from the door. Slowly, we walked to the stairs. I looked back over my shoulder, but the door didn't open. Maybe Casey had already fallen asleep. Or maybe she'd snuck out, and gone back to her dad's house to get a gun. Emotionally volatile. That's what Maribel had said. And she was so angry at us. If she could get her hands on a gun. "What do we do now?" I whispered, as we got back downstairs. "If we try to leave, we'll die on the road," Maribel replied, her voice wavering. "But if we stay here," she glanced down at the photos in her hand. The photos of us by the tree, lit by the bonfire. The last photos of us alive. "Wait," I said. "What if we destroy the photos?" It hadn't occurred to me before. But now, in fight or flight, in the darkness, death staring us in the face, it seemed obvious. Destroying the camera would be better, except we didn't have that. The CVS had disposed of it or whatever when they developed the photos. Maribel looked at me. "That could work. Maybe. I don't know." I ran into the kitchen, yanking on the drawers, searching. Finally, I found it, a little book of matches. I ripped one off, and on the third strike, the flame sizzled to life. Illuminating the kitchen in relief, flickering orange tones. I grabbed Maribel's photo first. Touched the flame to the photo. For a few seconds, it didn't take, the glossy photo paper seemed to repel it, almost. "Come on," I muttered, holding both the match and the photo as still as I could in my shaking hands. The flame finally caught. The corner of the photo began to curl up, the base of the tree distorting as if it were melting. My heart pounded faster, something like hope bloomed in my chest. And then Maribel screamed. She fell to the ground and began thrashing on the floor. Screaming, shrieking, in pain. "Maribel, what?" I started, but then I stared at the photo. The flame, distorting the lines of color, turning it to ash. I raced to the sink. It extinguished with a hiss. And immediately her screams quieted. I dropped to the floor next to her. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she looked up at me. "It hurt, so much," she choked out, blinking away more tears. Thumps sounded on the stairs. First Casey burst into the kitchen, her hair wild, her eyes wide, then Brady's mom behind her. "What's going on?" Mrs. Esposito asked, rushing over to us. Is everyone okay? My heart sunk. Brady was in an accident. I don't. I don't think he made it. The photos changed again. As we sped down the highway, in the back seat of Mrs. Esposito's car, they changed. I'd been staring at my photo the entire ride, expecting it to change to CCTV footage of us on the highway at any second. The inside of the car was dark, but I could see it every time we passed underneath a street lamp, lit in the orange halogen glow. On, then off, like a monster lit by a strobe light in a haunted house. As we passed over the next street lamp, it was no longer the photo of me against the tree. It was instead a photo of me, Casey, and Maribel. Dressed in black. Standing outside a church. Next to Brady's parents. His funeral. I knew he was dead, but seeing the photo made it real. I nudged Casey and Maribel. Look, I whispered. Their photos were the same. Why did they change now? Right now, on the way to Brady. Had Casey actually been planning to kill us, but now couldn't? Where did you get the camera? I whispered to Casey. She looked back at me in the dark with wide, blue eyes. Casey. I didn't know it was going to kill anyone, okay? She whispered, the corners of her mouth twitching. Yeah, we know, Casey, Maribel whispered. But where did you get it? She glanced between us fearfully. Ezra Schmidt gave it to me. Who? Maribel asked. Emma's brother. You know, the girl who was hospitalized last year for a suicide attempt. She took in a shaky breath. You mean the girl you bullied all through middle school, Maribel snapped, glaring darkly at Casey. The girl you called, Prego Emma? Casey nodded sheepishly. I ran into Ezra at the grocery store, right before the party. He gave me the camera, said it was a really cool camera one of his friends had found. So you took a camera, from the brother of the girl, you drove to suicide, Maribel said, very slowly. I didn't drive her to suicide. I haven't even talked to Emma since 8th grade. Those kinds of wounds don't really heal, Casey, Maribel replied. Like, ever. But Ezra was always nice to me. I think he even had a crush on me, he'd follow me around sometimes at school. Okay, none of this matters, I whispered, cutting her off. We need to find Ezra and ask him what's going on here. And how to stop it. It won't bring Brady back. A heavy silence fell over us. I glanced at the windshield, the dark highway stretching out in front of us. The back of Mrs. Esposito's head, as she quietly sobbed. The minutes stretched on, the three of us in uneasy silence. And then, finally, we saw it, red and blue lights puncturing the darkness. Police cars parked in the middle of the highway, obscuring the battered remains of a car. Mrs. Esposito parked on the shoulder and, without a word to us, ran towards the police officers. The three of us slowly approached after her, my heart hammering in my chest. Between the police cars, I could see slivers of Brady's car, twisted gray metal. Shattered headlights. A white airbag pressed against a cracked windshield. I didn't need to fight through the cluster of cars to see how bad it was. And, as we approached, I noticed something on the ground. Something small and white, face down, among a few stray shards of glass and twisted metal. I walked towards it, the voices and sirens fading out of my consciousness. All I could do was stare at the photo, face down on the asphalt. I reached down and picked it up. My heart plummeted. It wasn't the final photo of Brady going through the toll booth. Instead, it was all blurry, muddy streaks of gray, bleeding into each other. Like the photo had been corrupted. Or like the camera had been moving wildly. But there was something. I could see. Two lights in the upper right corner. Thin, jagged lines of light descended from them, as if they were also affected by the blur. Headlights? Is this what Brady saw, right before he died? I stared at the two dots. There was something about them that unsettled me. I couldn't look away. Two lights. Almost like eyes, staring back up at me through the glossy photo paper. Thanks for watching. Please press the like button if you enjoyed and the notification bell next to the subscribe button to never miss another video. Let me know your thoughts below. Subscribe for the next part. Bye.